We are live. Hello, Kagglers. Welcome to another session of live coding with me. I'm going to keep my headphones in for a teeny bit because I've been having trouble with audio while I've been recording lately for secret projects. How does that sound? Okay, yeah, that sounds really good. All right, goodbye. So, today we are going to be working on some data cleaning. We've been working on a project for a little bit where I've been trying to build a classifier. Well, okay, we successfully built a classifier to predict job title given job responsibilities and things like salary and level of education, et cetera, et cetera. And the data that we used for that was here in the Kaggle Machine Learning and Data Science Survey, the 2018 version. The 2019 version, the data has been collected, and stay tuned. And something that I have been thinking about is that all of the work that we did with the data cleaning on this project originally, we were working with these column titles that just say like Q27, Q21. Here, we were actually working with this one. So Q11 part 6 or something. And this is not a very transferable pipeline so far. So I believe when we reran the data science survey this year, Bun is crazy again. Get in there. When we reran the data science survey again this year, I believe that the questions had different numbers, but some of them were the same questions. And if we wanted to take our model predicting job titles and then run it really out of fold with data from a completely separate year, especially since there is reason to believe that job titles and the requirements for them might change over time, our current process is not going to work. So what are we going to be doing today? We will be working on a whole new data cleaning pipeline, and we're going to be using R. Don't give me that look, because it is just much faster for doing this sort of manipulation on tabular data, in terms of just having a lot of, helpful little functions and utilities and whatnot. Hello, Jackson and Ravi. Welcome. Library, tidy, verse. All right, so the first thing that we're gonna do, let's call this data prep for job title classification. And what I'm hoping to get done by the end of the day, and we'll see if I can do it in an hour. I feel like I can, but data cleaning, it just always takes longer than you think it will, however long you think it will. I think this will take about half an hour. I could be just like dramatically wrong about that, and I probably am. So my idea here is that we'll do all our data cleaning. We will write our data to we'll write our data to file, we'll commit our notebook, and then we'll create a new Kaggle data set from the data file output from this notebook, if that makes sense. So that's the plan. I'll sip coffee. Oh, if I haven't seen, I got a mug with the curdler on it. Isn't he cute? Anyway, it was for a team event. So the first thing we need to do is read in our data frame, and we're just going to call it data frame, read underscore CSV, and we want the multiple choice one input, tab complete, there we go, and it's the multiple choice, and for some reason this adds backticks, and I have filed a bug, but it has not gotten corrected just yet. Volume up a little bit. Ooh, one sec. How's that? Turn up the gain a little bit. Let me know if it sounds like a little bit raspy. People saying, oh my god, it's late. Am I late? Oh my god, it's R. You are not late, and we are using R, and you're going to like it. Well, I'm going to like it, and you guys can have your own opinion separately. All right, and I also want to... So as I remember, the actual useful information is not in the column titles, it is in the first row. spent too long in Python, y'all. Yeah, so the actual information that we want is in the first row and not the column title. So that's something that we probably want to change. And tell me what options I have. Comment trend, guess max progress, skipped empty rows, comment quote, quote, I think I can do df name. Yeah. So I think I can reassign the first row and all of the columns to names.df. Must use a character vector as names. So, this is just like pandas, so this is all of the first row. So this is not a character vector, so let's do as vector. All right. Let's see if that'll work. All right, and then if we do head of the data frame, we should now have the first column as the names. Excellent. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to Minoy says, can you tell me in short how to do this on my machine? So go to Kaggle, go to notebooks, create a new notebook, and you will see the same environment that I'm in now. So I'm doing this all in a Chrome browser. Oh, the data set. So the data set is, if you go to search, 2018 Kaggle, machine learning and data set survey is the data set that we're using. So, yes, and Alan says headers. Yes, that is the word I was looking for. Thank you. All right, so things that we need to do now. First, we need to clean the headers. So I'm looking in the janitor package, which is installed locally, but I don't want to read it all in because I just want a single function, which is this clean names, which you'll see we'll just go through and remove the punctuation, replace spaces with underscores, stuff like that. And I believe then I have to assign that back to the data frame. So the reason that I'm not doing this right after this in a pipe, which I will be using later, is because I have to reassign the names in the middle of this, and I'm not reassigning names to the data frame. I'm assigning it to the names attribute of the data frame, so I have to do that separately, if that makes sense. Rakshit says, Python, please. No, not for this. I did this in Python, and it took forever because I love pandas. I'm very grateful that it exists, but it's just not as good as the tidyverse in terms of user experience. Alan says, R is my first love. Excited to have a little break from Python. Me too, especially for tabular data. R is it's just nice. All right. All right, so we've got our data frame with our cleaned names, and let's just quickly move first row to names, and we also want to drop the first row, so that I can do here with a pipe. I think it's drop. I don't remember, it's been too long. What's the search term I'm going to want to use? Tidyverse, because that's the package I'm using. Drop row by index. So let's use this search term and see. Choose rows by position. Slice. That's right. So I want to slice 5 to end, not 5 to end. I just want to get rid of the first row, and in R we index from 1 like human beings. Sorry, nobody counts from 0. And then we should see, so the first row should be duration, second should be 710. And then if we do this, and then head DF, the first row should be 710, and it is. Fantastic. Okay, so we haven't lost any data. So that's the first step of cleaning, is taking the first row, making it the column names, tidying them up, and then we can move on from there. So the purpose of this is that we want to predict job title given role responsibilities. So things that we don't want to include are things like gender or age, because including those in determining who's suitable to perform a job is illegal discrimination. So what we do want is, I'm just going to copy and paste some row names here. So we want this one about education for sure, because that would be relevant for a job title. Undergraduate major, I think I've mentioned this before. I don't think that's super important, especially in data science. Like there aren't, it's not like computer science where it is more likely that a computer science degree prepares you for data science. Any degree can prepare you for data science. So that's not something that I think is super important for this particular task. Title most similar or most recent. And then in the industry, we also want this information. And now we have seen all that we can see in the preview. All right, that's not it. Names. There we go. So here's all of the things that we have option for. All right, so current role, this is actually what we're trying to predict. The industry, I think, is also important, and I've already gotten that one. How many years of experience do you have in your current role? I think that's actually probably relevant, especially since more experienced people are a little bit more likely to be managers, which is one of the roles that we have. Current yearly compensation, definitely relevant when advertising job roles. I think it would be great if employers were extremely transparent about compensation during the interview process. Does your current employer incorporate machine learning methods into their business? I think this is also important because I would imagine that a business that has a rich machine learning ecosystem is probably going to be looking for a slightly different candidate than a business that is trying to build one up from scratch. Robbie says, what about philosophy as a major that prepares you for data science? Yeah, especially if you're doing a lot of formal logic, which is very common in philosophy, or at least the language philosophy courses that I took as part of my coursework. That prepares you very well for coding and being extremely explicit with your assumptions. So yeah, I'd say philosophy works. I'm trying to come up with a major that doesn't, and it's not coming to me. Because English, you need to write a lot in a data science role. You need to be able to communicate well. That's important for most roles. Like sports medicine, sabermetrics, and being able to analyze. Sabermetrics is like the statistics of baseball, which is a data science discipline, which knowing about sports medicine could help you with. Agricultural science, there's a lot of modeling in agriculture, so that also could prepare you for it. Anyway, that's just something I was thinking about. Dagum says, is it sacrilegious to use Alteryx to clean the data and then do prediction in R? I'm not actually familiar with Alteryx, but whatever tool works for you, I think, is the tool that you should use because your time is a valuable asset. Like, people like to dunk on spreadsheet software. Spreadsheet software is great, guys. It's really helpful. And if that's the thing that makes you the most, productive, then, yeah, use it. All right, So these I'm doing little dot dot dots because I want all of the rows that start with this, except for other. So little note to myself, drop all rows with other. Nope, columns. All right, IDEs I don't think is super important for a job. Hosted notebook services I don't think is super important. Cloud computing services might be a little bit more important because those tend to have a fair number of idiosyncrasies. And if you are working in a company where everything is on like Azure or AWS or GCP or Oracle or whatever cloud service you're using, then already knowing and being familiar with that might help you get up to speed a little bit faster. So that might be something relevant. Programming languages, I don't think it's that important, honestly. Use the language you work that works best. Programming languages, machine learning frameworks, again, I don't think super relevant to a specific job. Maybe a little bit relevant. This might be the most relevant one. So what's your favorite machine learning framework? Because if a job happens to use that specific framework, that might be good indication for you that you want to work there. Robbie says, what about fine art? Fine art can be used to understand models that are representing atypical market values. Yeah, also visualization is extremely hard, and if you have a trained artistic eye and you have a good knowledge of color theory and when to apply it, and that's extremely helpful. The difference between a good visualization and a bad visualization is night and day. So yeah, anybody can be a data scientist. Frameworks, pick all. And we did this one. Data visualization libraries or tools. That I don't think is super important. What percentage of your time at work or school is spent actively coding? I don't think we actually included this in the first pass, but I think this might actually be important for distinguishing between more coding-based roles and more roles where you do less coding. I mean, generally in tech, the more junior you are, the more coding you do, and as you get more senior, you spend less time coding and more time like communicating with stakeholders and deciding on product direction and things like that. So this might actually correlate very, very closely to the level of the role, even though that's not something we're explicitly looking at. Robbie says, I love data visualization more than building models. That's fine. Good data visualization is, like I said, hard and important. So if you prefer to do one than the other, there are plenty of jobs that will let you focus more on one than the other. Do you consider yourself to be a data scientist? I don't think I want that included, because if there's someone who doesn't consider themselves a data scientist, but they look at the job description and are like, oh, I can do all those things, then I would want them to apply. So I don't want to necessarily be targeting those people who are like, oh, yes, of course, I'm a data scientist, because that's less of a question of what skills do they have, you know. Cloud computing products, machine learning products, less important. Database products, again, I think less important. Which type of data do you currently interact with most often at work or school? Select all that apply. This, I think, might actually be important. I think this might be helpful. Well, okay, but we don't have a lot of granularity in the specific job roles. This might be a good place for us to do some feature selection a little bit later on, but I would consider that separate from data cleaning, so we can do that at a different time. Where do you find public data sets? Not super relevant. Proportion of work, not super relevant. Online platforms, not super relevant. Hopefully, if you were hiring for someone, you would not care where they got their education as much as you would care about their ability to do the work. Favorite media sources, again, hopefully should not matter. Quality, metrics. What do you find the most difficult? Model insights, explainability, reproducibility, reusability. Okay, so all of that I think is good and important, but not super relevant for picking a title for a job role. Lorna says, so true, but I miss coding as a senior now. Yeah. The thing where like the more senior you get, the less coding you do. That's true. And it's interesting because I think a lot of people get into coding and technical careers because they're like, oh, I'll never have to have people skills or talk to people. I don't think everyone's that way, but I think there's some percentage of people who think that that's the way the career is. And again, if you want to advance, you do need people skills. Actually, it is really important. But and that and like business knowledge, and you can build those both up over time. So don't despair. All right. So these are the these are the qualities that we are interested in, and we also want to drop all the columns that have other in them. So let's get rid of this crufty code that we don't actually need. Alan says, but some of these are multiple choice, right? Yes. So the lovely thing about Tidyverse is that we can filter by approximate matches extremely easily, which I love. Robbie says, do coding in assembly then. Why? Why is that the best use of anybody's limited time on this earth? All right, so these are the things that we think might be important. And let's actually turn this into a character vector in the most inefficient way. So this will let us get, yeah, I know my white space is off. I can fix it. If this were more than like 10, I would script this, but at this point I don't care. And at some point you do just need to look at the data and be like, these columns are not going to be helpful and I need to get rid of them. So that's something that's just like part of the work. And a comma there, and a comma there. All right, so let's call this character vector multi-choice. Ravi, Lorna does a lot of coding. This is not a hill I would die on. All right, and then these ones are going to be partial matches, all. Let's just call these multi-choice. Multi-choice C, and it's a character vector. And I'm just using tab and arrow to tab over the whole little bit of text here. And this is a technique I actually learned when I was doing a library internship in the special collections at William & Mary. So shout out to the special collections at William & Mary. I did a digitization internship there, and it was a lot of fun. All right. All right, so here are our columns that we want. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually do two pipes, one where I select the multi-choice ones, and then one where I non-multi-choice columns, and then one where I select the multi-choice columns, and then I will combine those together. And I do want to do that sort of like in a batch rather than looping through, because loops in R are very bad. Loops in R are awful. Please avoid them. They are very, very time inefficient. You are correct. Thank you. Alan has found this dash that I did instead of an underscore. Tidyverse select by character vector. Select works as a vector without variable names, but I think it shouldn't. It may be confusing. Oh, yeah, no, it just works. Okay, so I should be able to just do, let's call this df multi, M-U-L-T-I, M-U-L-T-I, nope, df multi-choice, and then take our data frame, and then we're gonna select non-multi-choice. Also, I should probably not call that and tab complete, thank you. I should actually probably call this non-multi-choice so I don't confuse myself. And then we should, if we look at the click, where's my mouse? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Have I done something to cause my kernel to crash? Let's just try a quick little refresh. I may have tried to print out something very large, although I think that bug was fixed, so. Weird. Okay. Shaboop. It's going to take a second to load in because this is a pretty large data set. And I'm actually going to move this to a new cell. I know there's a shortcut for that, but I always forget what it is. And then I want to find the head of df non-multi-choice and just make sure it worked. God, that was easy. That was so easy. Freaking love the tidyverse, man. It's so good. It's so good. Okay. Yeah, sorry. That was just extremely easy. Yeah, I don't need to do anything. It's already vectorized. Anyway, this is why I love R. Very straightforward. All right. And then we need to do the same thing in Jupyter, except I believe we need to use a different flavor of select. Help me out. What are my options here? Select. Select all. I don't remember the exact flavor. What should we do? Select based on partial names, character, vector, tidyverse. Yep, that's exactly what I want. Contains, that's the one. It is not a flavor of select. It is, in fact, a method for select. And then this one is actually df multi-choice, so we should be good. And then we actually want to reverse select all of the titles that contains other. And we just want to get rid of those. And then we should be able to find head df multi-choice. There we go. And see if it worked. Error contains non-multi-choice. Is string match is not true. All right. Matches is more general, but I want to do multiple ones. This one I actually might actually need to apply. For a vector of known column names, use one of array of column names. Interesting. Use contains. Thank you. Athanasios? Sorry if I said that wrong. Robbie says, in India, 99% probability they prefer Python. I mean, it's a more general language. Like, there's plenty of people hiring people to build, to use Django to build web frameworks and stuff, which is not really something R is for. R is specifically for analytics and specifically for visualization and data analysis and statistics. So if that's not the only thing the job is doing, probably they're not going to be like, hey, use R for R, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good software job. Database administrator must use only R. That would be weird. You'd expect them to ask for SQL for that. Alan says, tidyverse made R so straightforward. It really did. Okay, so the reason that this is slightly different is that here we are using an exact match. And here we are using not an exact match, but a partial match. Okay, let's see. Is string match is not true. So I think the thing that is the problem here is that we are passing in a vector and it's looking for a single string. So I might actually need to do apply. Let's try a new search term to see if someone else has done this. Select contains character vector rather than a string. Oh, and let's pop tidyverse on there just for narrowing down our results. Whether the specified vector contains some string, that's not exactly what I'm looking for. Detect might be helpful. Skillbrat says how easy it is to code in R as compared to Python. I mean, if you are familiar with pandas, I think it's fairly conceptually similar because pandas is a Python implementation of base R, basically. So if you are already familiar with pandas, a lot of the sort of like vectorization and data frame mental work has already been done. Okay, I think I'm figuring out what I need to do. But R is, as a programming language goes, it's actually C family, which Python is not, but it is more idiosyncratic than a lot of other programming languages developed for software development because it is, again, very specialized and it is based on S, which was for statistics only. So the biggest thing that's got you two things. A, everything is read into the global namespace when you import a package unless you don't import the whole package. And B, everything is indexed. So any data structure in R has an index. There are no native hashed data structures. So things that make a lot of sense time complexity and memory management wise in other languages will be gotchas in R, and particularly loops. Avoid looping. Every time you loop and add data to a data frame, new memory is allocated for that data frame. So in addition to being very slow, it is also very memory inefficient, which is not the case in a lot of other languages. And that is, I should say, that is for the sort of the default R data frame. There are a variety of other similar ways of managing data in R, like data table, and H2O has its own data frame. And Tibbles, which is what the tidyverse uses, is another type of data frame that's slightly different. All right, so this is a regular expression for phone number, so that's more general than we want. String extract, string match. So these all are going to take regular expressions, and we actually just want partial match. Collocation search. Boundary by convention. Okay, so what do I want to actually do? Robbie says RCPP helps a lot. Yes, that's true. Also, all R objects can be directly manipulated through C or C++. So if you are already familiar with that language, you can just sort of use R as the icing. I mean, there are only 4 of them, so we could do 4 data frames and then squish them together, but I would prefer to avoid doing that, and I'm almost certain there is a way. And if, like, one of the tidyverse team were here, they would absolutely know the answer. What if I actually rephrase this as a regular expression? Would that work? So what I'm doing here is I'm saying, I'm pretty sure the pipe is OR. I'm like, yeah, I'm fairly sure the pipe is OR. All right. I think this is not going to work because it's select contains multi-choice. Unexpected symbol at 10. Oh, yes, that would do it. Let's see. Is-string match is not true. Okay. So the problem there is that we have passed in a regular expression, and the function is expecting an exact match. So we are going to need to use our regular expression to find the matches in the column names. Honky, honky. So let's try this. I think this is going to be probably the most useful. So that's the general syntax that we want. Here is our regular expression, which may or may not work. And then the strings that we want is actually, so the regular expression here is called multi-choice, and the strings that we want are actually the names of the data frame, which is going to be the column names. So we need to actually say, oh, hey, we want any text after that as well. Hey, look at that. Look at that. That worked. All right. So this is just like a pretty this is a pretty gnarly regular expression, plus this mess. So what this is saying is, hey, give me any strings from this names df vector. And then match anything that starts with select any activities followed by any number of any character, including 0. Anything that matches this bit followed by any number of this character. So the pipes are OR. So if any of these 4 things is true, we should get the information back. Jorge, I'm guessing, or maybe George, maybe Horg? Surely not Horg. Says, is data cleaning always necessary? Yes. And Taname says, sorry, I don't understand. Do you want to split multi-choice and put it in a data frame? Yes, so I'm selecting only some columns from this data frame and putting it in a new data frame because we want to predict job titles for data science jobs based on role responsibilities. And it's based on this survey, which has, as you can see, many things that you don't actually want to do to generate job title, like gender. You don't want to advertise different job titles to men and women, or anyone else. That is a crime. And also just like morally reprehensible, I would say. Or like age, again, age discrimination, a crime, things like that. So we definitely want to remove that information, and we also want to remove irrelevant information. So good question. Bippity-boop. All right, so now we have our string, wherever we were. All right, so at this point we have this, and then I think we want to actually cast this as a vector, because right now it's a matrix, and I think it's gonna look for, So that looks pretty good, because we need to pass in a vector, which is the same thing that we did up here with this one, where we just had a list of the columns that we wanted. Policy board says classify by shoe size, maybe. Yeah, just use a correlate of gender instead of gender. Yeah, that's definitely ethical and legal. It's not. That was me being sarcastic. It's neither of those things. Jorge says it's Jorge. I have no idea where folks are from, and like I don't know what language your name is from, and I'm gonna try my best. But if I pronounce your name wrong, that's on me. It's not on you. Your names are all beautiful. All right. Bop-a-da-bop-a-da-bop. Okay, so what we have here is a vector. We want to drop empty, and I believe it's dropped on array. No. Drop NA is deprecated. Please use drop NA instead. All right. I think it's probably actually drop.NA. That's probably the base one. All right. Could not find function. Drop.NA. Drop empty members. Wait. Is it, I think it's bang is dot null. Nope. Two arguments passed to bang, which requires one. Oh, that's right. So that's not going to go through the vector. That's going to tell me whether the entire vector is null or not. Also, when I remember that I guessed it would take 30 minutes, we're now 40 minutes in. I do code more slowly when I'm talking to people, I will say that. But my actual guess is an hour, so it's probably going to take more than that. Okay. Robbie says str replace and I don't know that it's actually NA though. I think it might be empty. We'll see. Yeah, it hasn't actually removed them. So you can see there's nothing in here now. It's just the empty ones still exist. Na.omit, let's try that. I want to remove, I want to remove these empty members of the vector. So I think I'm actually gonna have to Google how to do that. So R remove empty items in vector. How to remove empty element in vector? That's the question. Oh wow, we're in mailing lists. Yeah. All right. So it looks like we can do this. So in search terms ain't code. There we go. So in the tidyverse, the dot means whatever is the output of the previous pipe. So here I'm saying the thing that's the output of the previous pipe, select it by index based on the things of the output of the previous pipe that are not a blank thing. So excellent. So we have got that. Thank you. Our mailing list from 2006. All right, so now we have our string. So let's call this multi choice string, except we also want to remove these other ones. So if they said other, they had an option to select this other option and then also write in some other text, and we want to get all of that out of there because it's just going to add additional levels to this classification problem, and just for this, I want a first pass that is a little bit easier, so I just want to get rid of it. But you might want to save that or spend some time looking at these free text fields in the future. If this was, for example, a Kaggle competition, that might be a place where you might find helpful information. Who knows? All right. I think there's going to be a string remove all, and I think we'll be able to say like other, and let's actually not assign this quite yet. It's removed the string other. It hasn't removed the items that had other in it. Okay, well, I did in fact get what I asked. I got what I asked for, so thank you, but that's not what I wanted. Okay. I think I can do actually string detect, and this should return me a vector. Yes, excellent. And then we should be able to filter based on that vector. So so based on our output from the previous one, we want all the output actually, I think we can just use that as an index already because it's already a Boolean vector. And this should get us, nope, mystery. Oh, right. So you can only omit the dot here. So basically, if you have something like this, you have a function and you don't pass anything into the function, the dplyr, I think is the subpackage, uses the output of the previous line as the input of this line. But because I used a dot here, it didn't know where else to use the dot because I'd already used it. So I had to specify that the string that I wanted to apply this over was the previous string. So... right, okay, and I actually want the inverse of this because all of these choices have other in them, so I'm going to do a little bang, and there we are. Okay, so here we have our multi. This would have taken me 15 years in Python, by the way. Maybe not that long. I am getting better at Python, but for this type of manipulation, it is just, for me, much easier to use R. So get rid of you, pop that down in here, and then we can use contains multi-choice columns, and I can get rid of that, and then we should be able to just take a little peek, and no, it didn't match. All right, helpful. What did we do previously? Select non-multi-choice, non-multi-choice. All right, this is a character vector. What is, oh, right, we don't need to do contains because we already have a character vector, right? So what we have here is the data frame that we wanted. And as you can see, these are actually kind of already one-hot encoded. So people selected this choice, and if they did, then their column has that choice. And if they did not, then their column has an A. So you might want to do some additional encoding here. I think for now, I'm not going to, because not all of these are one-hot encoded. You can see this one is not, where it's asking about the primary tool. All right. Types of data looks good. So what is the primary tool? You use at work text looks to be actually bad. Do these all have etc. at the end? Etc. text. Okay, so I'm also going to drop every column that has etc. text in it because I don't think that's going to be helpful. So let's add a new one of these. Copy this guy. So this one is removing everything from our character vector where the text other appears in that character vector, and this one is going to remove everything from our character vector where the text etc. text appears in that character vector, and that should get rid of all of those columns that were just all -1. That's why it's important to look at your data. All right. Lots of discussion about manual data cleaning. Yeah, manual validation is an unskippable part of data science. I mean, you could have a different team member that does it maybe, and they send you data that's all prepared, but you are going to have to do that at some point. All right. Okay, so here we are moving the first row to names. Here we are selecting columns of interest, non-multi-choice questions. And here we are selecting columns of interest, multi-choice questions. And I think I think there's a way to be able to wrap this extremely long line, but I'm just not, because I don't want to risk messing up my regular expression. I also don't know what's up with this syntax highlighting. This strikes me as maybe Python syntax highlighting and not R syntax highlighting. Maybe it is? I don't know. I don't think this is an R operator, although it does sort of look like a little like person with a very like long nose. All right. Jesper says it's cheaper to pay an intern for a month than a machine learning scientist for half a year to solve data cleaning. Robbie says it seems that lots of Kaggle employees wear glasses. Yes, myopia is extremely common, especially in the United States among tech workers, because you look at things that are really close to you. So that's what I got. I'm nearsighted. Yeah, there's actually a lot of really interesting work being done on it in China and sort of like the epidemiology of problems with sight. All right, so I think we are good to go with our 2 sub data frames that only have the columns that we're interested in. So let's add them together. So we're gonna bind them by columns. Had to think about that for a second. So multi-choice, DF multi-choice is what we called this, and then DF non-multi-choice. And I like to use data frame as a prefix for objects that are data frames. And the reason that I do that is that if I do df and then hit tab, I can see all of the data frames that I currently have loaded. And this is just, I think the Google style guide actually wants df to be at the end or data table to be at the end rather than the beginning, but then you lose the being able to find it by tab complete. Also, the update of the Google R style guide is very good. The old version of the Google R style guide, I don't particularly enjoy myself. I mean, anything that's in a style guide, there's a reason that it's there. I'm not saying that people are just like making up rules for the heck of it, but it doesn't align especially well with my personal use cases. So, all right. So we have our full data frame, and let's call this data frame columns of interest. Excellent. So things that we might want to do now. So one thing that we want to do is we want to filter based on survey completion time. So you'll see that, can't do that, can I? I have, in fact, removed that column. Maybe I'll do this at the top. Let's move this cell up. So we should filter based on survey completion time, because if you look at the head of the data frame, you'll see that the first column is the duration in seconds. And let's actually just quickly take a look at that. Histogram df dot duration in seconds. Is it not duration in seconds? Oh, that's right, it's not a dot. I told you I done spent too long in Pandas land. There's probably an NA in there somewhere. Let's try as dot. I don't know why it's been read in as text. Oh, yeah. All right. So if we look at the, let's do the log histogram instead, because I think that's going to be more useful. So if you look at the log histogram, you can see most people, there's sort of a little bit of log normal distribution, but we also want to throw away these survey responses that were extremely quick, because likelihood is they're bots. So, yeah. Still talking about the discussion of the nearsightedness. Yeah. And Jay says, your tutorials helped me not fail my data mining class. Woo woo. Unless you're talking to Anthony, in which case, good for you, Anthony. I'm always happy to hear success stories. I actually looking at that, I don't think it is that important. So if there were a lot of bot activity in this, we'd expect a distribution with a big spike around 0 seconds, because bots are much faster than humans. And it looks like we don't actually have that. So it's possible, A, that we didn't have a lot of bots, or B, that they've already been removed. Either way, I don't actually think we need to filter here. But if you're doing any web collected data, you gotta watch out for bots, y'all. You have to consider that. If you don't, it's just gonna be buck wild. You gotta make sure you have human generated data and not bot generated data. Do we need to filter based on survey completion time to remove bots? Looks like no. All right. We do need to remove columns that we do need to remove columns based on the remove unuseful rows based on target variable. Yeah, it is fairly skewed. All right. So, oops, there we go. I added a column, but I didn't need it. So what I think I want is a summary of this particular column. And I think I can do it with summarize. Nope. Count. Pretty sure it's count. Nope. Summary? No, that's the summer. Summary? Nope, that's not helpful. All right, let's do this. We're gonna take our data frame. We're gonna do select. What was the specific one that we were doing? Select the title most similar to yours. So select. Excellent. And then we want to group by and the same column. And then we want to count. And I believe this should work. Yeah, there we go. Excellent. So there are probably some things that we want to remove. So specific things we want to remove are things like student, not because students are not valuable and wonderful. I was a student for a very long time, but because you're probably not going to write a job ad specifically looking for students. So we probably want to remove those. We probably want to remove other because that's not going to be a helpful category for us. We probably want to remove not employed. Again, that's probably not something that you'd write a job ad for. Yeah, so... and also we probably want to remove these NAs for people who didn't answer that question because, again, just you wouldn't advertise for a job with no title. There's a job. Apply. I don't know. That would be something, huh? Pick your own title. All right, so I'm also probably we want to remove very small jobs. So like data journalists, again, love data journalists. The Pudding does fantastic work. I think they're actually hiring right now if you're interested in data journalism work. And I think it's a remote position. So I would look into that. Pudding, like the food. Love data journalists, not a whole bunch of them, so again, probably not something that you are likely to want to write a job for. Principal investigators are usually tenured faculty members, so probably not something you're going to write a job for. I don't know, salesperson, you might. Yeah, DBA. This one I think we want to include. Developer advocate, I think we want to include. So maybe we'll get rows that have more than 100. So let's see. Filter n is greater than 100. Yes, that would be because I misspelled it very bad. There we go. And those of you who know SQL may notice that, it's sort of like SQL. Actually, filter would be like where, but select and group by and counter are sort of SQL-y things. And then we need to filter blank C. And so the specific things that we were interested in excluding were other. Again, you might want to go through the text fields and do some data mining there and learn more, especially if you were working for a platform like LinkedIn where rarer job titles are still very important. Not employed. Hopefully all those folks who are looking for jobs have gotten jobs and are having a great time. And then student we do want to remove. Again, nothing against students, but not a job title you'd probably advertise for. Interesting that it's taking a while. Oh, I know what the problem is. Stop. Stop executing. Stop it. No, stop. The problem is I didn't say what column I was interested in here. There we go. So that should work. Stop it. I may have to reload real quick. It's just confused. All right. Yeah. Lorna says, I think internships would target students and unemployed people, but that might not be considered a job in your area. Yeah, I also have, I don't know, I got lots of feelings about internships, which can be summarized as they should be paid. That's my feelings on internships. So I don't want to get rid of this. It might be helpful to extract the character vector and then do the filtering. So comment out this line, save you for later, get rid of that. Yeah. Sumi Chan says, anyone here trying to learn web dev and data science at the same time? Not me. I think I could be an okay back-end engineer. I do not think I would make a very good front-end engineer. Not least because that is what my husband does, and it's fiddly. Oh, it's so fiddly. You've got to like test so many things and care about so many different devices and make sure everyone's having a good experience, and it just seems really tiring. It seems so tiring. All right, and we actually want as a vector. And let's actually call this common titles, because that's what they are. And then we want to remove common but unuseful titles. All right. So we have common title. Nope. So common titles, COMMON. Titles. There we go. And we want to index into it the ones where I don't know why it keeps adding backticks. Is in? Is that one? I'm pretty sure is in is the one. All right, we may have to do detect. All right, so get rid of you. Just gonna move stuff around here. Sorry, I know this is awful. I will fix it. It'll be working. All right. This does not need to be a vector. Let's try, so it's string detect, because we want a Boolean vector out so that we can filter based on it. And then, nope, again, that is a function. And then common titles is the string, and then the pattern is this beautiful regular expression I have written. And then this should give us a Boolean vector, except my syntax is wrong. Could not find function string detect all. Definitely string locate, maybe? No. Okay, that's not it. Oh, that's right. Question about in. All right, and then this needs to go back to being a character vector. And I think we should be good to treat NA as a string because I believe that this is not a mixed type vector. All right, and this is going to give me a vector of 4. All right. All right, what's going on here? Let's check out common titles and see what it's actually in. What's in it? So it's a data frame. Oh, I see, it's still a data frame. I want to extract it from a data frame. Because the columns of a data frame are character vectors, but the data frame commands will override the vector. The data frame application of commands will override the vector application of commands. Convert data frame to character vector tidyverse. Help me, Google. Data frame pointer factors to characters. Nope, that's not our problem. Tibbles never extract strings as factors, which is nice. Reconvert character columns. Character vector strings are interpreted as missing values. Separate character column. Factors to characters. Data type conversion. I don't want to convert the data type. I want to convert the structure. Extract by name and convert to vector using as.vector. I'm not entirely sure what you mean by extract to name, but common titles should be a vector already. All right, you see I've converted it to vectors. Let's check the structure really quick. Oh, is it because I grouped by it? Could be that. Let's try that. Let's try ungrouping. Okay, I think this is still going to be a data frame, though. Yes, it is still a data frame. And I'm not entirely sure what you mean by extract by name. Alan. Let's see, extract. Object question mark not found. All right. What are you looking for? Data column. All right. And then into. Okay. I think this is actually the function I want. Thank you. Data frame select. So I did do that here during this process, but I think extract common titles is what I'm looking for. Argument into is missing. So let's try in, I don't know, vector maybe? Will that work? Is character into is not true. So it needs to be a character. It's still a tibble. Why is it still a tibble? Okay, so I created a new column called vector. instead of changing my Tibble column as character vector to character vector. I don't think I need to specify tidyverse because Tibble is a tidyverse specific word. Yes, that's what I want. That's what I want. Okay. You can use pull to get a vector from a table. All right, so I think instead of this, I can say pull, and I think it should just work. Nope. Nope, this as vector is nothing. That's just gonna throw an error. All right, all right, all right. And then if we just look at common titles, excellent, okay. And then we should be able to go back to this guy and put it in the right direction because I'm pretty sure this way is the right way and the other way was the wrong way. Excellent. And then we can use that as our Boolean vector, except that we need to reverse it. And I'm just going to put this in here and then filter common titles based on it. Okay, it has not omitted NA, so I think we need to do that separately. I was incorrect about this being treated as a string. It is still treated as data type NA, which is special. Also, I think it's na.omit, actually. So there we go. All right, we've gotten rid of that. So titles of interest, correct variable assignment, and then we want to use title of interest to filter our data frames. Data frame with just input columns. So that's pretty straightforward. And then, sorry, I was just checking that I don't have a meeting because we're a little bit over, but I do want to make it good. Alan says, wow, yeah, I really, see, somebody knew that this is a common thing that people would want to do, and they built a very easy to use function for it, and now I can use it, and I love that. And by someone, I mean somebody on the Tidyverse team, so probably somebody at our studio. My money's on Jim, I'm gonna guess. Okay, so now common titles, no, titles of interest, which is what we want. We want to filter based on that. So what do we call this? Data frame columns of interest. And see, I got all my data frames there. DF and then tab complete. Anyway, columns of interest, and then I need to filter, select, nope, select the select the title most similar to your current role. And I know this is a long column name, but okay. And so we do want, I think like so. Let's see. That didn't work. Object titles of interest not found. All right, and then when we look at the jobs, all right, well, let's do this the easy way, and then just select the title of blah, 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 this really long column name. Consultant, data scientist, analyst, data scientist, software engineer, data scientist, research analyst, chief officer, manager, business analyst. Were there really more than 100 chief officers? Interesting. I guess there were. Research scientist, DBA, database engineer, manager, software engineer, chief officer, research assistant. Okay, so I think we have product/project manager, research scientist. I think we have all of the titles that we want. So I'm going to assign this back to data frames columns of interest and remove all of the titles that we're not interested in. Remove unuseful rules based on target variable. Uncommon or unlikely to be advertised for job titles. All right. Yeah, I think we're good. So what we haven't done is we haven't done any imputation, and we haven't removed any rows with null values. And the reason that I haven't done that is that I'm going to be using AutoML for this project. And the hope is that most AutoML systems might be able to handle the imputation themselves. So because there's difference between different systems, I want to have the data in its rawest possible form, and then we can do the specific pre-processing needed for each system separately, which is just part of using that system, so it'll be a little bit more contained. And I will use Python for that because, well, actually, no. I know H2O AutoML has an R interface, and that's actually sort of the primary language of use. Teapot might only be in Python. I don't remember about Teapot. But yeah, so some of them we could use R, but I'm probably going to use Python for all of them for just like ease. Sini says, oh, the Towards Data Science podcast interview with you was amazing. Thank you. I had a lot of fun. I hope it was helpful. Also, WordNet is definitely a thing. I did that at the very end of the day, and I was bad at remembering words. But all right. So finally, we want to save out our file, and I'm gonna call this data frame columns of interest. I think it's just file dot save, maybe. That's not one. Actually, I think there might be a tidyverse way to do it. Tidyverse save data frame as CSV. Write underscore CSV, write delim. Twice as fast as write.csv and never writes row names. Output column is a generic method to coerce columns to suitable output. Helpful. All right, so let's just copy this. So the object that we're interested in writing out is this data frame columns of interest. It'll just be wrote to the current path, NA is NA, appended equals false. And these are all the defaults, so I can actually just remove these. Doop. Oh, I do need to specify path. Data job. What should I call this? Yeah, data job. Nope. No spaces in file names. Data jobs info.csv, which I think will just write it to the current path. And now I think I should be able to, yeah. So something that we added recently is that you can actually download files that you've created in your notebook right from your notebook. So fun little extra feature. I know people have been asking for that for ages. And here it is. I'm delighted. Thank you to the engineering team. And I am going to commit this data frame. Oh, let me do a tiny bit of markdown describing what I'm doing. Data cleaning for a project to predict job title based on role and responsibilities. Okay. Commit this. I will make it public so y'all can take a look at it if you would like and maybe extend on it. And as you can see, and I'm also going to add my other account. I don't demo on my admin account to protect safety. All right, so, oh, is it done already? Oh, that was fast. Yeah, let's open the version, take a look. Yep, there we go. And if you wanted this cleaned file, you could pop down to the output and delete it here, and I will create a new data set for this and gussy it up a little bit later. All right, gosh, these long column names, which you could truncate yourself, but I think it is helpful because you have all the information in the question, and the way the question was asked. So if you handed this data set off to somebody else, they might be like, oh, that's a long name, but I understand what's in this column. So that's why you might want to do that. All right. Thank you for joining me, everybody. We went a little bit over, but we did finish everything that I wanted to do, so that's excellent. Set access credential is being deprecated. Use BQ auth token instead. And help, big R query deprecated. Interesting. Good to know. So I will see you all on Friday nope, this is Friday. Probably not next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after. I'll make sure to post to the YouTube channel so you guys know what's up. But I will be at a team offsite where we'll be cooking up lots of new exciting stuff on the Kaggle platform. So I will definitely be back next Wednesday for a new paper, and Wednesday after next, not next Wednesday, so not the 13th but the 20th, and then on the 22nd to do some more live coding on a new project. Maybe a new project, we'll see. All right, thank you so much for joining me today, everybody, and I will see you on Kaggle. Bye!